Okay, we're going to learn about the product and quotient rules, which is really the staple of what we're doing for the rest of the first part of Calc 1. Almost everything from here forward is going to use some type of product or quotient rule when we start going through problems. So a big thing is knowing how to recognize what a product and quotient rule are and how to find them. So right here I have your definitions for product and quotient rule. If you have two functions that are multiplying each other, okay, the derivative of two functions multiplying each other is going to be f prime g plus f g prime. So the first is first, and then the original, and then the second is second with the original. That's the way that I remember it. So the first is first plus the second is second, because you're going to have the first one has the derivative times the original plus the second one has the derivative times the original. Okay, quotient rule really kind of follows the same idea, and that's why I say for this top one, the first is first, the second is second, because for quotient rule, the order really does matter because you have a minus sign here. So it's going to be the first is first minus the second is second divided by that bottom squared there. Okay, so these are two things you're going to have to memorize. So for this first example, I'm going to recognize that this is going to be product rule because I am multiplying these two functions. All right, so t squared is our first function, and then e to the t is my second function. Okay, so to find g prime, I'm going to do the derivative of the first, which is 2t, times the original plus the original, and then the derivative of the second. And we did go over this in a previous video, that the derivative of e to the t is actually just e to the t. Okay, and that's your product rule. So in case you didn't know this, the derivative of e to the x is just e to the x. And I did mention that in the previous video. Okay, so second problem. Find the equation of a tangent line to the curve 1 comma e over 2. So first, to find the equation of that tangent line, I need to find the derivative, and then we'll plug everything in. So since there's a big division sign, quotient rule is a bit easy to recognize. This is going to be quotient rule. Okay, so we need to find y prime. So in this case, the top, which is the first is first, so the derivative of e to the x is e to the x times the second minus the original of the first times the derivative of the second, which is just going to be the derivative of 1 plus x squared is just 0 plus 2x. We can just write down 2x all over that bottom squared. Okay. So now I'm going ahead, and since this is the derivative function, I can go ahead and just plug in a 1 here. So I'm going to get y prime of 1. Now, could you simplify this further? Totally could. You could take out a GCF of e to the x, but what I'm doing right now is just plug in a 1. And when I do that, I'm going to get e to the 1 times 2. 1 plus 1 squared is 2. Minus e to the 1 times 2 all over 1 plus 1 squared all squared. So what's going to happen up here now? You have e to the first times 2 minus e to the first times 2. It's going to give me a big old 0. It's going to be 0 over 4, which is just 0. So the slope at this point is 0. So y minus y1 equals slope x minus x1. My slope is 0. I'm just going to get y minus y1, which is e over 2, equals 0, x minus 1. Right there, that's good enough for me. If this is multiple choice, they're probably not going to set this up like this. They'll distribute that 0, and their answer will probably look like this: y equals e over 2. So this answer is totally good. If it's free response, if it's multiple choice, I can almost guarantee you the answers are going to look like this one down here. Okay, so that's quotient rule. You don't need to simplify unless it specifically asks you to do so, or if you're doing multiple choice, you kind of need to match it up. This one I could have plugged in right away. All right. Next example here is we have this function. We have f of x. Oh boy, I knew that was going to happen. We have f of x is square root g, where g of 4 equals 2 and g prime of 4 equals 3. We're going to find f prime. Okay, so let's go ahead and find f prime of x. Before I do that, it's the same thing as x to the 1/2. This is going to make it so much easier to take that derivative. So derivative of the first is going to be 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. Okay, we got to get sharp on our power rule and be able to go quickly, times the original, which is g of x, plus root x, and then g prime of x. So it's going to want me to plug in a 4 now, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. F prime of 4 is going to be 1/2 4 to the negative 1/2 times g of 4 plus square root of 4 times g prime of 4. Okay. Real quick, this 4 to the negative 1/2 is the same thing as 1 over square root of 4. Okay. Which is going to turn that thing into a 1/2. So 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4 times g of 4, up here it says is 2, plus 2 times g of 4 is 3. So I'm going to get 1/2 plus 6, which is going to give me 1/2 plus 12 halves, which is 13 halves, is my answer here for g prime of 4. So they'll set up some of these problems for product rule or quotient rule where they'll give you an undefined function in there, but they'll give you some points in there. Well, it's not an undefined, it's just they're not telling you what it is. All right, next one here is sometimes they'll give you a graph to do this stuff. So they said f and g are functions, so I'll color code this for you. So I'll have f be red. This is f. Don't know if this is color coded in the color copies, but I'll color code it for you. And then I'll use sky blue for g. All right, let's see how that looks there on the camera. All right, looking good. So let's go ahead and find u prime. So u is giving me as f times x. So u prime of x, before I plug in a 1, is going to be f prime of x, g of x, plus f of x, g prime of x. So u prime of 1 is going to be f prime of 1, g of 1, plus f of 1, g prime of 1. Okay, so I need to know for the primes what's the slope at 1, and then for g I just need to know where 1 is, and then down here I just need to know where 1 is on f, and you need to know slope at 1 for g over here. So to find the slope, the easiest thing to do here is to just do rise over run. So this is a line segment, and it looks like I can just rise 2 over 1. It looks like this entire slope for this is going to be 2. And the slope for g, it looks like it's going to go down 1 over 1. So this slope is going to be negative 1. With that being said, I can now plug everything in. So u prime of 1 is going to be the slope of f is 2 times the value of g at 1 is 1 plus the value of f at 1 is the height is 2, and then the slope is negative 1. So I'm going to get 2 minus 2, which is 0. So that's u prime of 1. Okay. Talk about v now. V is just going to be the product rule, or sorry, not the product rule, the quotient rule. So v prime of x is going to be f prime of x, g of x minus f of x, g prime of x, all over g of x squared. And I will separate these. So plugging this in for 5, because it wants 5, so f prime of 5 is going to be, sorry, v prime of 5 is going to be f prime of 5, g of 5 minus f of 5, g prime of 5, all over g of 5 squared. So I need to quickly find the slope of f at 5. 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is right here. It looks like this slope is going to be down 1 over 3. And then the slope of g here looks like it's going to be up 2 over 3. It's going to be up 2, oh, I'll do that. Up 2 over 3. And now I literally can just plug everything in. So f prime of 5 is going to be negative 1/3. G of 5, the height is 2, minus f of 5, the height is 3. This is going to be 2/3. And g of 5 is going to be 2 squared, which this is going to simplify all the way down to negative 2/3. So you can try that math on your own if you want. I'm just trying to quicken this up a little bit. So that will give us our value of v prime of 5. And this is really just the crash course on what the product rule and the quotient rule are.